Hey now, gang, welcome to the 63rd installment of the Paper Street Podcast. Appreciate you all tuning in whenever, wherever, and however you're doing so to this genre film and filmmaking-centric program presented by Paper Street Pictures. My name is Shawn, a member of said Paper Street Pictures production team, and it is good to be back here on the OG pod. Both this and Late to the Party took a bit of a summer hiatus in order to run the officially unofficial after show that was for the sci-fi series Revival, which is now streaming in full on Peacock in the States. I want to thank all who watched that series and who followed along weekly with our in-depth recaps with the TV series showrunners Luke Boyce and Paper Street's own Aaron B. Kuntz. And big thank you as well to Liz MacArthur for helping me in co-hosting duties for that run of episodes. Speaking of co-hosts, my trusty co for this show will return soon. Scheduling conflict, we had to thread a needle here, as they say. It kept her out of this recording, but again, Becky Sayers will be back on the next one with me, and long overdue. It's been a while. As for this program in question, I will pitch to a talk here momentarily with the lead actors from the new film Shelby Oaks. This is the debut feature from director Chris Stuckmann, and I am so pleased to say is finally out now in theaters nationwide. Shelby Oaks is a film that we have touched on a number of times on this very program, and it took a good while to come to fruition, both in the filming, which has already been a few years ago now, and its final release here as I'm recording this. But the film is out there, it is real, and without further ado, let me get straight to the biscuits and have a chat with the film's on-screen sisters, portrayed by actors Sarah Durn and Camille Sullivan. I am joined here today by a pair of talented actors who lead the horror thriller Shelby Oaks, the long-awaited feature debut from director Chris Stuckmann. First up, we have the person behind the film's missing sister, Riley Brennan. She has appeared in films including Sony's Where the Crawdads Sing, Universal's Renfield, as well as the Netflix hit film Carry On. She is Sarah Durn. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we are also joined by the person behind the big sister in search of Riley, Mia Brennan Walker, who has appeared in series including Da Vinci's Inquest, Amazon's The Man in the High Castle, and the Letterkenny spinoff Shoresy, as well as features including Hunter x Hunter. She is Camille Sullivan. Welcome as well, Camille.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are so glad to have both of you here to talk Shelby. We know you've been on a bit of the circuit already, explaining a lot of stuff about this movie, so we thank you for, hopefully we won't be repeating the exact same questions, but we appreciate you taking the time and elaborating further on the journey that has been this movie. Before we do jump in, though, we typically start off by going all the way back to the beginning with our guests, and we do ask, what first gave you the bug? What got you interested in film and filmmaking and genre and art, whatever it might have been? It might have just been acting, but was there like a person, was there an experience, was there a movie, or some kind of piece of pop culture that maybe got you both hooked?
For me, my mom used to take me to theater when I was a kid. So we went to Stratford, which is near Toronto, where I grew up, and we saw Shakespeare plays and stuff like that. And then as well, I watched a lot of movies. So I was always really, really into theater and film. And I didn't really think of it as a career-like possibility until much later. I went to an arts high school and studied painting, which for some reason I did think was a viable career. And then I started to do some acting. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe, I could try this. It's as possible as anything else, really.
Yeah. And for me, similarly, I have always been just a story nerd and have always loved going to the movies and falling into books. And I really fell in love with storytelling and just surrounding myself in a story. And I got really into it. Like, there's a bar in New Orleans that plays movies, and I always end up just watching whatever movie they're playing and having people come up to me asking if I'm okay. I just wanted to get as close to the story as possible. And then it was sort of acting was a means in order to do that for me. I followed my best friend, Victoria, freshman year to the high school play auditions. And I also just thought all the actors were the coolest people. And I was like, these are who I want to be friends with in high school. So it was just really a ploy to make cool friends initially.
Right. So you sound like you both had the creative bug early on in some capacity, whether it was just storytelling on paper or visually or even performative, like it was in you from get-go. It sounds like, hopefully spurred on by supportive parents, I would imagine.
Well, my dad shared with me his lack of impulse control, so I found that super useful.
Yeah, my parents. My parents were super supportive. I think they also, I don't know, I was the oldest and I got good grades and just sort of chugged along and did my own thing without a lot of input. So they just kind of let me do my own thing, which was really nice. And they would, come to the plays and stuff when I started doing theater, and they were supportive, but they're not art people. Like, they didn't get it or like understand really how it all worked, or like the things that made me super excited. Like when I first got an agent, they were like, cool, that's cool.
Well, a thing I learned about you, Sarah, is you were not only a contributing journalist for major publications like AV Club and the Mary Sue, but a published best-selling author to The Beginner's Guide to Alchemy, which was that something that was always happening side by side with the acting, or did one come first for you?
Yeah, it's a weird story. I don't know. I was pursuing acting and I was like, oh, I need like a flexible job. And, similarly to Camille pursuing painting, I was like, maybe I could write and get paid to write things. And which is not usually a thought that people have. But yeah, it just sort of worked out. And I've always been a history nerd, especially a Middle Ages nerd, especially. I got a medieval studies minor in college and studied a lot of that. And yeah, so the book came about from an article I wrote for Gizmodo that was breaking down the real history behind A Discovery of Witches, this great modern fantasy series. And it's actually written by a historian of science, Deborah Harkness. So it started out as me just digging into this book I liked. And then I was approached to write this book on alchemy. And alchemy is really fun. And I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of I get really nerdy about history. So that's just like another thing I have.
That's very cool. My wife read the series and then we both together watched the TV show with Matthew Goode and Teresa Palmer, so I'm familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the book. It's also
that's usually the case, right? Yeah. The book's better for the most part.
Yeah. It's tough to top a book because it's like then you're like a participant in the world and you're creating it alongside the author, which is always so fun. But this show is good too. I like the show a lot. Teresa Palmer's great.
So did either of you remember your first kind of paid gig, or where you thought like, oh, I'm official, my parents get it now? Like when a stand-up comedian finally gets on the Tonight Show, like when you can say like, oh, I did the thing, I promise I'm for real. Like, do you have that kind of memory of the first time you felt legitimate as an actor or performer?
Well, I remember my first gig, and I don't know that my parents were convinced at the time, but it was on Dead Man's Gun, which was a Western, and it was with Brian Austin Green.
Okay.
And so it was like,
90210.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And so it was really exciting. It was a guest star, and it was my first on-screen role. And our very first scene, I'm supposed to run into his arms, and he sort of scoops me up in his arms, and I ran at him, and I just knocked him over right to the ground, just right to the ground. So that was my very first scene on camera, and I think the footage is out there somewhere. But anyway, it was great. I don't think my parents were convinced after that, but I was convinced.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that's popped into my head was it wasn't like a made it moment, but for high school me, it was a very important moment. I was cast in one of those plays that tours around to different high schools and tries to. This play specifically was about not taking prescription pills for fun. And my character dies. And it was kind of a don't do this, kids sort of play. But I was getting paid like $70 to do that in different local high schools. And I thought that was really cool. It was my first time getting paid for acting. And that felt really exciting, even though, it didn't really get me far. But in terms of 70
got you all the way here. What are you talking about?
I know. I mean, I don't know. In high school, you have such a funny sense of money. You're like, wow, $70. That's like 3 meals.
That's a decent gig. I still think that's a good gig.
I was with other equity actors, which is also a really important piece of it for me. Like the actors unions, and the first people I met in the actors unions were in the theater union, Actors Equity. They felt like movie stars to me. I was like, wow, like if I get into the union, that'd be so cool. Yeah, so that was one of the earliest moments where I was like, whoa, I can get paid for this. And that's really cool.
You mentioned theater a couple of times. Both of you have, both going to it and being part of it. But with Shelby Oaks, which we'll transition to, kind of blending found footage, blending mockumentary, and then the traditional cinematic techniques. Do you make adjustments for your performances across those formats, similar to the way like acting on screen requires a little bit different technique than acting on stage for theater?
For me, I adjusted my performance in terms of adjusting it through the lens of the character. So when the character's doing the documentary interview portion, you do behave in a certain way where because you're there to accomplish something serious and you want people to hear you and you want to be calm, so you present yourself that way. And then when circumstances change, I think Mia adjusts with the circumstances. More things are called on her, so she reacts in a different way. So I always approached it from a basis of what's she being asked to do? What does she want? How does she rise to the occasion?
Yeah. And for me, I mean, I have done quite a bit of theater. I love theater. It does feel like a different muscle. Theater, you know, you're acting with your whole body a lot of the times, where in film, you're often just acting with your eyes. And yeah, when I made the transition to doing more film work, I have like funny actor tics. Like I blink a lot and it really bothers me. It's like a actor stress. Like if I'm nervous, I like blink a lot. And yeah, with Shelby Oaks, with, you know, the found footage moments for Riley, those were so fun because one, Chris was really willing for me to play, and he sent me home with like a camcorder at one point and was like, just go and record stuff. And like, I never thought that any of that would end up in the movie. And it has, which is wild and weird, because when you're doing something and you think it's just sort of goofy and fun, for that to then be part of the movie is insane. There's also actually a moment in the found footage where there's a clip of me from a high school play I did. So talking about theater and talking about film, like that's such a wild crossover moment. And just really lovely. Like I had to reach out to this high school director, Mark Cipra, who directed me in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And that theater isn't around, and trying to get permission for this little clip to be in a big old movie. It's just wild.
Right. And I'm pretty sure that's made every single cut of this film. That one little shot you're talking about, which folks will see in the early part of the film. But I mean, credit to you, though, because again, maybe it was a combination of you doing naturalistic things by just recording yourself at home, but you pull off the naturalistic stuff in the YouTube bits so well. Like you are coming across as a person who's just doing a YouTube video and not an actor. You know, you don't see the acting. Nobody noticed the blinking, by the way, so I hope nobody's going to look for it now. I never noticed the blinking.
I've never noticed it either. You're good.
Oh, that's good. I think hopefully I've like worked it out. It's more a thing in like auditions that I do, and it drives me.
Yeah, sure. Nerves. But everybody gets nerves and then they have their thing and then it goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Shawn. That was so nice. But yeah, I mean, it was so fun doing those found footage moments because there was a lot of flexibility. I mean, a lot of it was scripted. The episodes were scripted, but then there's a lot of other elements that were just me fooling around.
No, it worked, though. And we kind of talked about the journey of this movie. It's been kind of well discussed across the internet of how many years it's taken for this to come to life here. But you were such an early part of the process, Sarah, in coming in, almost doing this guerrilla style stuff with Chris, taking kind of a leap of faith with him to do the Paranormal Paranoids videos and the early footage for those doc pieces. Was that something that you did audition for? Were you know someone connected to Chris because it was so low key at the time and nobody knew anything just yet?
Yeah, no, it was wild. It was 2020. When I initially auditioned, I did audition. It was for a proof of concept for like a Kickstarter. And it was really unclear if there was a feature film or if I'd be a part of that or if this was just material to get a Kickstarter going. But I was desperate to do something. It was 2020. I had been like at home for much of the pandemic in Ohio because I grew up and am from Ohio. So I came on not really understanding what the whole scope of the project was. Then when I got on set, after being cast, Chris was starting to tell us that this was like found footage moments of a longer story, but it was very unclear to me what it was going to ultimately end up as. I was also like pretty green at the time. You know, I hadn't done many of the, things you so nicely listed out at the beginning of the show. I hadn't been on those big sets yet. So I don't know. It honestly didn't seem that strange to just be with the director going into the woods to an abandoned shed with 3 other actors and doing a little script thing, saying my lines. It should have been. I feel like in talking about it, feel like I should have had some doubts and self-preservation instincts, but I guess I didn't. But yeah, those early moments were so fun, and it's so wild looking at what the film has become and the fact that that is how it started.
Right. Well, you did give the caveat of, yeah, as of March 2020, we all were stuck inside for several months. So I think you'd be a lot more willing to do much of anything, including going out in the woods with strangers.
Yeah.
A few months into quarantine.
In 2020.
Yeah, it almost might have been at that point. You're like, I want danger. I need adventure.
Yeah. It's really strict COVID protocols.
Yeah, I can only make so much sourdough bread. And then Camille, again, Chris has cited in many of the interview that he'd seen Hunter x Hunter, which put you on his and many people's radar. Was there something that initially drew you maybe to the role of Mia? Are you a sibling yourself, a big sister yourself, or was there just, were you also making too much sourdough and just ready to jump into something?
No, by the time I got the script, I think it was 2021. So we were already out of that and I was already working. So it wasn't a choice made out of fear. But I loved the relationship between the two sisters, and I am a middle sister. I have an older sister and a younger sister. And I just thought it was such an interesting place to start with the character of Mia, who's stuck in the loss from 12 years ago. And I think part of being stuck in that loss and not wanting to move forward from her sister's disappearance is because it's a way of staying close to her. Sometimes, when someone passes away or you're apart from someone, you hold on to the grief as a way of holding on to being close to them. So I thought it was a really interesting place to take a character from, to start in this sort of being trapped in the past, and then to have something new enter your life that's both horrible and hopeful, and then to sort of go as far as you can in the direction of what you've been dreaming about for 12 years. I thought there's kind of an abandon there. Like, it starts off so closed and then she cracks open and flies into abandon. And I thought that was so cool.
No, that makes sense. And then kind of piggybacking on something we talked about earlier with different techniques to stuff like that, do either of you approach anything acting-wise in a horror film, maybe compared to other genres? I don't know if it's a question of whether you go bigger or broader or anything, but is there anything that might be different when you do approach a genre piece?
Yeah, I think that there's often more screaming in a genre piece. But other than that, and just being like mindful of my voice and trying to warm up and not totally fry it, I approach it pretty similarly to just about like other characters outside of genre films. I'm, always trying to approach it with like a character first mentality and a lot of empathy and an acceptance of the circumstances my character finds herself in. And, if those circumstances involve devil spawn and demons, like that is just part of the given circumstances. And it's about really believing that. And even if, they are things beyond sort of our day-to-day understanding. And also like, a lot of horror movies, and you have to approach it in a really grounded way in order for those more heightened moments to read. And there is like Camille does such a wonderful job in this film as Mia, showing that sort of doubt, but still, she's aware that this sounds insane, but she's willing to go. And Riley has that too. She knows she's doesn't want to do certain things for the show. And she knows bad things are on the horizon for her and her friends. But she knows that in voicing those things, she sounds a little insane, which is like too bad. I guess we should just always trust our gut.
I would say the thing I approach differently, and mostly I do approach it the same way, but there's one thing I do a little bit differently is I try to think about bigger themes a little more, because sometimes the places they go are so dark. It's really the darkest of humanity. So I don't have personal experience with stuff that's that dark, thank God. So then I try to approach these big, like staring into the abyss and, man or monster, and sort of embrace it almost like a Greek tragedy in my preparation of it, so that I'm thinking of it from a humanistic perspective to start. And then I work in to make it more specific and character driven from there.
Yeah, I love that. It is sort of like Greek tragedy. It's like the horror movies are a little like melodramatic and big in a way.
Yeah, big swings. That's what makes them fun, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
No, indeed. And apologies to both of you who did have to scream a few times in this movie. Camille especially. Sorry about your voice.
No, I love screaming. That's something they teach you in theater school too, to scream and you don't blow out your voice. That's super useful.
There you go. So kind of in a related vein, was there a moment that stuck out to either of you as the most challenging single thing to shoot on this particular picture? Because you both had a few moments of kind of difficult things to do, both in performance and just physically.
there's a moment that's sort of a confrontation between Mia and Riley, and
that's the same moment I was going to pick.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, that was shooting that. And it was a night shoot. We were at this little old house in Ohio. And everyone on set kind of knew it was like a big moment for the film. And so there's a lot of pressure. And it was also like, I think we finally got around to shooting it that night at like 4 a.m. So you're tired and it's dark and everyone is, it's towards the end of the shoot that day. And it's like this big moment. And I just remember, because I don't know what they were setting up, but it took a while for us to get around to shooting that specific moment. And I knew like at any moment I was going to be called to set, and I wanted to be ready to step into it immediately. So for like 3 hours, I was just sort of in this really intense headspace, listening to my music playlist for Riley and just trying to like lock in and like be ready for any AD or, Michelle to come grab me and be like, it's time. But I'm really proud of that moment now. Like I was really nervous to see it because I wasn't sure how it ultimately turned out. I don't think we did it that many times too.
No, I don't think so. I think we had to get it quick once we got to it, I think.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice. And Chris, he's such a great director. But I could kind of sense in him, he was like, that's great. I think we're ready to move on. And I think you and I were both like, one more take. Yeah. Can't we just do one more?
Yeah, I was going to say that was the one I feared the most too, just because so much happens in that scene. It's so important. And there's so many big shifts for that part. And then for as it continues. And then I was really afraid of, not afraid, but there's some scenes always for any movie I do. There's one scene that I'm just dreading from the get go, just like I know what day it's coming up and I'm just like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? So that was one. And then because as it goes on too, then I play a few beats on my face and I was just, that always feels scary because you don't have anything to rely on. I don't have the dialogue to rely on. So it really has to just show up in my eyes and in my expression. And so, there's always some fear that nothing will happen, nothing will register. But then, it did. I think it did. And so, that was a relief when it was done.
Yeah, Baird, Andrew Baird, who was our DP and color corrector on this, actually said that they had lit my face really dark. So in the initial edit, you couldn't see my face. Do you know? And then like Andrew spent a long time trying to lighten it. And I'm like so glad he did because it's like my favorite moment in the film. And I would have.
No, I didn't know that. It looks fun. I never would have guessed that.
No, yeah. Yeah. But I guess it was so you couldn't see my expression at all. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's like the moment I want the most from this movie.
And without getting spoilery as we're trying to skirt around them, your face wasn't exactly clean. So maybe the dirt didn't help with the darkness of your face.
Yeah, Good
on Andrew for cleaning you up. So kind of a lighter question, and this will lead us into the rapid fire questionnaire bit we do in the second half. But is there anything paranormal or superstitious that either of you actually do believe in, or you care to share any experience that maybe made you believe if you do?
I believe in all the things. I'm extremely superstitious and I believe in all the things. So I do think, and I told this story before and Sarah said it made me sound crazy. So I'm going to tell it again and double down. I think there's a ghost that lives periodically in and out of my apartment. So in my building, but like a friendly ghost, like, like a scamp who kind of plays pranks on me and stuff. Like I was drinking a glass of water and I raised it up to my mouth and then it felt like, just as I got it to my lips, someone pushed the back of it and water sprayed all the way down my face and down my front. So much water. And it's not just that. I'm also like a piece of paper flew at me. I think that there is some kind of entity in and out of my apartment.
Okay. I think the paper story is more is
That's more. Well, that's why I added it this time for more credibility. You see, so I don't sound crazy.
Have you named this ghost?
Sound crazy. It just sounds like you maybe spilled water on yourself and are like.
That could also be the case. I mean, it could.
Yeah, that was where I was until she added the paper part. I'm like, all right, maybe there is something, and she didn't.
There are other things too. Things fall off the walls just periodically. Stuff falls. Like there are things.
That feels more compelling to me as.
Okay. I'll start with that next time.
now that we're almost done with all of our press for this movie.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, you're currently a resident of one of the spookiest towns on Earth, allegedly, if you do believe in those things. Do you have any stories yourself from childhood or even in and around some of the film sets and places you've ventured to?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually a ghost tour guide here in New Orleans for a minute. Yeah. But I wouldn't say like you're, with a group of like 30 people on those tours. And I didn't have any experiences there. But I've always loved ghost stories and folklore and unexplainable tales. And me and Victoria, the same friend I followed to my high school play auditions, used to, in like library hour when we were in like fourth grade, both check out. There was a Haunted Ohio book, and then there were the Scary Stories books. And so we just kind of trade. And like one week would be hers turn with the Haunted Ohio book, and then I'd do the Scary Stories for a while. In terms of like actual experiences, I mean, I definitely believe in, not to sound too woo-woo, but like an energy. And I think like when somebody just has had a really intense argument in a room and then they leave that room and you walk into it without any context, you can kind of sense that things are off. Or, where we shot at the Mansfield Reformatory, this abandoned prison, like that place feels creepy. And There's something about abandoned places and forgotten places that once were really occupied and probably like full to the brim with people, and seeing those places just emptied out. I'm really intrigued by like, what is it about horror movies and ghost stories that keep us so fascinated? I think because it asks, these huge, big questions that we're all wondering, like what happens after we die and where do our loved ones go when they die? And so I'm very much an agnostic. Like, I don't know what to believe. I did have one kind of spooky experience that I can't quite explain. Me and my siblings and my parents were all up in northern Michigan, and we were staying at this old Victorian hotel. And my parents got a room on one floor, and me, my brother and sister were in a room on another floor. And it was like two beds in that room. And I had a bed to myself. And then my brother and sister were sharing a bed. And around 3, 4 a.m., our bed started shaking. And we all woke up and we got my dad and he checked things out and he's like, it's fine. And I was like, I don't know, this seems weird. And they didn't feel anything. We thought like maybe there was an earthquake or something. And then the next day at breakfast, I went downstairs, and me being all into this kind of thing, I went to the front desk and asked if there's any history of ghost stories. And they handed me a folder of all these newspaper clippings. And there had been somebody who had killed themselves in the room we were staying in. Wow. And I still don't really know how to explain that. But I'm like, did I dream that the bed was shaking and then wake up? But then my brother and sister had the same dream. I mean, there's just things that are hard to explain in this world rationally. And that's one of those for me.
Feels like something they should disclose upon check-in, like.
Right? And also, don't put the 3 little kids in the haunted room. That's
really.
Yeah, real estate agents have to do that. So should hoteliers. Let you know who's died in which rooms.
Right? Only fair.
Okay, that kind of lighter question will segue us a little bit into what we call the Rapid Fire 15, which is, I kind of told everyone, was a bit of a Inside the Actor Studio Proust questionnaire style thing. It's not a test at all. It's just kind of the first thing that comes to mind. A lot of it is just asking about stuff you like, kind of with a genre twist to it, if you will. Okay. But I'll give you the first example, and it'll hopefully put you at ease here. So, question 1, what movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
Ooh, probably Love Actually, because it's holiday. Like, it feels like something I watch around Christmas. And Hugh Grant dancing in that one scene is just, it's the emotional equivalent of candy for me.
Mine's The Big Lebowski. Also the emotional equivalent of candy for me.
Nice. No, both good answers. And both have insanely funny moments in them. So yeah, that's not bad. Next question. Is there a particular movie, a song, a TV show maybe that always makes you emotional or brings you to tears?
Ooh, I feel like I cry a lot to a lot of things. Anything that has to do with pets or like unrequited love or like someone dying before they can say they love you, like all that will really get me. I'm trying to think of specific, like the last time I cried to like a story. I think it was literally me watching Nobody Wants This. And it was some like heartfelt moment between the characters, which isn't very cool, but is true, I think.
For me, music, well, I cry a lot too. I cry at everything also, but The Boatman's Call by Nick Cave, Tom Waits, any number of Tom Waits. I love the album Alice. I think almost every song on there makes me cry. And then for movies, they all make me cry, but I'll tell you, I was shown The Elephant Man when I was much too young to see it. And I sobbed in a way that was like primal that I still can feel in my bones. So I can never watch it again.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That would do it if you watch that too young. You watch that now and still be terribly affected.
Oh, yeah. I think I'd still be a wreck.
Well, we'll get off the crying things that make you cry, hopefully. The similar question, maybe it makes you cry in a different way. What's the first film that really scared you or stuck with you or gave you nightmares as a child?
Ooh, I watched Jaws also way before I should have been allowed to. And that definitely freaked me out. But I also kind of felt cool about it. Like, I think I was like 6 or 7. And because I was into like ghost stories and stuff, I was like, I think the shark should be saved. I don't know. I was like a little conservationist. So it did freak me out. But I also like had dreams of me like befriending the shark and teaching him like not to eat people.
For me, my dad used to show me a lot of movies when I was too young, now that I'm remembering, now that you've asked about it. So I can't remember what it was, but I remember I couldn't sleep and I came out and he was watching something. And then we watched this scene where all these people just got machine gunned down and it was just brutal. I mean, it was brutal. And that stuck with me. I still remember it.
No, I understand that. That's like more real violence to a child's brain. That's more realistic, I guess, violence than just seeing like a slasher villain who might be over the top scary. Something like that could affect you worse.
Yeah. Although the horror movie I loved when I was a kid that I saw when I was very young and really dug was The House of Wax with Vincent Price. I thought it was so fun and so cool. And I just loved Vincent Price. I thought he was amazing.
I am remembering too. I remember watching Chucky. I don't know what it was. And I only remember I watched the scene where like Chucky comes up and like cuts someone's stomach and their guts fall out. And I still like, I remember vividly that scene is something. I don't even think I think that's all I watched of the movie. And then I shut it off. Out.
It's like those stolen moments, when you're like, you should be asleep maybe, but then you're watching something you shouldn't see.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, this is why parents don't want me to watch this. I get it now.
Yeah. Well, don't sell a movie on a child's doll. Tell us it's a psycho killer.
Right?
But yeah.
I thought it was a friendly kids movie. This isn't Pixar.
Exactly.
What the heck, guys?
So away from those kind of genres, then a happier genre, what would you say is your all-time favorite comedy? I know Camille sort of answered this maybe with her comfort movie being Lebowski, but if you have a different one that's just like a straight up comfort comedy, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like there's so many. I really recently watched this show called Starstruck, and that felt so much like comfort food. I find like short format comedy shows like The Office and Friends and Sex and the City. I always say to my friends, if I'm ever like, I'm in a dark place if I start rewatching Sex and the City, because it means I'm not okay. Because that's just like, I don't often rewatch things. So when I do, it's usually out of great emotional turmoil.
Right.
And I go to the things that are the most comforting to my heart.
Well, since Sarah named one that was more of a Christmas thing, I'm going to go with that. I always watch Trading Places at Christmas because I think that's just one of the best comedies. I think it's so funny and it's more relevant than ever now, honestly, if you watch it. So I just think like it's brilliant.
Oh, yeah. It's been a number of years for me, but you're right. Based on the subject matter, I'm sure I'd get angry.
Oh, yeah. It definitely speaks to today.
Yes. Next question. Do you have a favorite book or author, Sarah, you can't name yourself? Or even a genre that's maybe like a comfort read for you?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fantasy nerd, hence the Middle Ages stuff. And my favorite author is Sarah J. Maas. She is amazing. I love her. Me and my friend Mare, who actually just got married, are always talking about her. I actually got the chance to interview her for one of my past jobs. And that was really cool. And it was like one of those, like, it's okay to meet your heroes moments because she was so cool and down to earth. And I was like, aren't we going to become friends after this? We didn't, but that's okay. I still love her.
There's still time.
There's still time. She just doesn't know it yet.
She will after she hears this.
Right. Thanks. I'm still trying to like play it cool.
My favorite author is James Baldwin, and my favorite book by him is Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone. And it's a book about an actor and his life and, about more than that, but that's sort of the gist of it. And I just think his writing is the most beautiful. And I mean, talk about making me cry. His books, I can't even read them in public. It's such a disaster.
Nice. That's Camille speaking my language and Sarah speaking my wife's language. She has bought the sprayed edges versions of the Throne of Glass series and the Court of whatever it is, Rose and Thorns.
I love your wife.
She's on the Sarah J. Maas tip too. She went and saw her at a signing in LA not too long ago. Same thing. She had a good experience.
Yeah, people, because not to be that person, but me and Mare, my friend, have read these books for years, and suddenly they're becoming like cool. And like we were really nerdy and like used to not talk about, we used to play it close to the chest and kind of like tentatively walk. And now they're like really having a moment. It's great for her and it's good for all of us. But yeah, it's fun to see like that shift culturally. I think it's also just like things geared towards women are not seen as just like goofy and silly anymore. Like they're actually like, oh, well, there's money behind this. So I guess we should put more towards it.
Oh yeah. Twilight, for all that's not greatness, broke the doors open in a lot of ways for stuff like that and commercialization of female driven. Yeah. It's certainly a big deal right now. That's the fun answer. Camille's is the very respectable answer. James.
Yeah. Camille's. Yeah. I didn't make myself at all cooler with my answer.
No. We all have two wolves inside of us. Come on. Next question. This usually gives away a little bit about people and maybe their age range as well. So apologies. What was your first celebrity crush? Or who, I should say. Not what. It could be an animal. I don't know.
We mentioned House of Wax. The House of Wax we make with Chad Michael Murray. He was there for me. Many of the men on Criminal Minds were important for me.
Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, there's plenty. Those are a couple of the ones that hop to mind, though.
For me, I don't know. First, God, it is going to give away about my age. I think maybe Michael Jackson. Maybe. I mean, I think I do remember liking him quite a bit for a while and thinking that we might get married. I was way off. But he was a very good performer.
No follow-ups. I'm kidding.
Nothing else to say on that.
No, there's no shame in it because we've gotten some funky answers. We've gotten like a cartoon character from a Disney movie, there's no wrong answers here.
I feel like there are wrong answers. Like if I said Charles Manson, it's kind of a wrong answer.
I take it back. There are some incorrect answers to this question.
Because I wanted to say Charles Manson, but I thought you would judge it.
Wait, now, Camille, you can't like.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Listen, he was a charismatic leader. It happens.
A lot of really hot people lead cults. It's just a fact.
Yeah. True enough.
People did kill for him. So, I mean, he had something. I'm not judging. So, Camille being from the Great White North and Sarah being from the U.S., do either of you have like a comfort food in your hometown? Or if you were back home and somebody came to town to visit, is there a place you would take them to show them like, here's what I grew up on. This is kind of like the greatest mom and pop restaurant or diner or something that you'd have to show them? Like, so if each of you visited the other in their hometown, what's the restaurant you would take them to show them a good time?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up close to this. I'm about 10 minutes from this cute little quaint town called Chagrin Falls that literally has a little waterfall flowing through it. It's a Lifetime movie set. It's not actually a real place, I'm convinced. But they have it's called the Popcorn Shop, and it's on the waterfall, and it's this cute little old school like candy soda shop vibe that looks like it's going to tumble into this little waterfall like at any moment. Yeah, it's just really quaint. It's not like they have ice cream and they have like old school candy. So it's not like a gourmand's destination, but it is just a really cute setting and really sweet and feels very a part of where I grew up and how I grew up. So I'd probably like tour you guys around Chagrin Falls a little bit.
Nice.
Sounds lovely.
I grew up in Toronto, so I haven't lived there in a long time, but I would probably take you to St. Lawrence Market, which is downtown. It's just like a big ass market with like you can buy groceries and fish and, meat and stuff there. But then they also have a whole bunch of food and restaurants and stands. And go with my family. My mom's family's background is Ukrainian. So probably get some pierogies there. They're really super good. And then just like chow down on those.
Yeah.
Chase it with a Tim Hortons. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, it's all Americans know about Canadian cuisine is poutine. And
Tim Hortons isn't even owned by a Canadian anymore. I'm pretty sure it's owned by an American company.
Oh, I know. All the American companies are owned by other places too, so it's the way it goes down. But no, those both sound like a good time. The next question: do either of you have any Halloween season or fall traditions that are specific to you or your family? Something out of the ordinary, even?
One thing, I'm Slovenian, and in the fall is when a specific kind of plum comes into season. And my grandmother would always make plum dumplings, where you cut open these plums, you pit them, and then you put sugar cubes inside and then wrap them in this like really thick, very Eastern European dough that's like potato. It's like a potato dough. It's sort of like a pierogi, but like sweet. And then she'd make caramel and put that on top. And they were served as a side, but they felt very much like dessert, which I adored, having a huge, massive sweet tooth growing up. Yeah, I haven't had them in years because she's no longer with us, but that was something I loved very much.
We didn't have anything really specific, but since you're talking about your grandma, my grandma, and I'm going to preface this by saying she's the nicest, most loving woman. But for whatever reason, her feeling on Halloween was let their parents buy them candy. So she would just turn out like she did nothing, just turn out the lights. Nobody was home, pass by this house. There was nothing happening at her house on Halloween. I went out. My mom took me out and I did all the things, but my grandma was not into it. Maybe because she was a religious woman and she felt it was wrong. I don't know. But for some reason, it was not a thing at our house.
That's fair. Again, a lot of people still feel that way to this day. But pumpkin patches and other things don't have anything to do with the All Hallows Eve aspect of it. So some people do have other non-Halloween specific fall traditions, but good on Grandma for holding her ground.
Yeah.
She was a tough lady, I tell you. I wouldn't cross her.
A couple music questions. Do either of you have a very favorite concert moment or like a memorable concert experience that you attended?
Oh, I'm just really not going to make myself out to be a very cool person on this podcast.
No
but
judgment, no shame.
I went to the Eras tour, and that was pretty incredible. That Taylor Swift is such a performer. I saw it twice. I got to see it here when she performed in New Orleans, where I live, and that concert was so incredible. And it's like an opera and a play and a concert all rolled into one. And it was amazing, as many people attested to. Yeah. So that's a recent experience that like huge highlight of life for me forever.
I've been to a lot of great concerts actually, but one I remember in particular is I saw John Lee Hooker play not too long before he passed away in a very small venue. And he was already quite older, and he came out and he sat as he played for most of the show, but he was right there and he was giving it. And it was just unbelievable to be in the presence of somebody with so much talent who has so much history. It was really amazing.
No, both good answers again. Sarah, there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. You like what you like. And like you said, a gajillion people on this planet, largest tour ever, can't be wrong. So
Yes. I mean, she is the greatest songwriter of our generation, but
I don't know if I'd go that far, but okay. However, I'm not. No, I have a daughter. I have a wife. I'm very familiar with a lot of her catalog. In a similar vein, do either of you have a go-to karaoke song? And even if you don't do karaoke on the regular, if somebody kind of forced you up there, drunk or not, what would be maybe the one you'd pick to go out and belt?
I really like Toxic by Britney Spears. I think it's a banger, and I have a lower voice, and Britney has a lower voice. And it's also just, there's nothing worse than someone going up who's really good at singing and then singing like kind of a slower song that you can't dance to. So I feel like Toxic is the antidote, because it like doesn't require that much singing chops, and it's a banger, and everyone's dancing and having a good time. If Toxic, that like one violin riff is iconic.
Right.
What about you?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but okay.
I'm not a confident singer. I'm not a confident karaoke person. I've only done it once before when I was in Japan. But if I had to do it again, it would be the theme to Goldfinger, and I would definitely be drunk.
I was gonna say she doesn't have confidence in herself, but she also doesn't have impulse control, as we've learned. So there's still a chance.
It's still gonna happen. I'm just not gonna feel good about it.
I love that. The thought of you doing Shirley Bassey at the top of your lungs is I'm good. Both of those answers again. And then we will wrap it up with this one. What would be each of your dream roles, dream projects to do? Is there an original idea? Is there a fictional character, a historical figure maybe in Sarah's case, or a particular story out there you'd love to bring to life?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, I'd love to work with Greta Gerwig. She's doing Narnia right now, and that is a dream project. Another author I love, author and screenwriter Dolly Alderton, is currently adapting Pride and Prejudice, which would be another dream. I just want to pretend I don't live in the 21st century and frolic through fields is I guess my dream. And if there's some fantastical element, like being in Game of Thrones or any of the spinoffs, I'm ready. Put me on a dragon. Tap me in, coach.
I guess, well, since my favorite book is Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone, and there's a character in it who, the main character is a man, but he has a very close friend in it who's throughout the book, who's also an actor, a woman. And so I think it would be to play that. I don't think they've made a movie of it, but if they do, I would very much like to be in that.
Mm.
Nice. Well, you both passed. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm sorry, it felt like pressure. Great answers all around, top to bottom. So thank you for that as well. I will ask, we have Shelby Oaks out now in theaters, which again, long time coming. Is there anything next for either of you that you're able to talk about, or is it nothing yet kind of out there that's public, or anything you just want to promote in general?
Just quickly, I do have something coming up, but I can't talk about it yet. However, right now in Canada, on demand, I have 2 movies out. One's She Talks to Strangers, directed by Bruce Sweeney. It's a dark comedy about revenge. And the other one is Are We Done Now? A wry kind of satirical comedy about COVID. And that's also available on demand, directed by Ben Emmanuel.
Yeah, and for me, I'm working on some stuff, but I can't talk about it quite yet. But yeah, I mean, as of now, I'm just really excited about Shelby Oaks and trying to embrace this crazy moment we're in with this movie, and excited for the theatrical release, and just trying to be present for all of this crazy stuff.
No, definitely. Shelby Oaks is in theaters now, and these 2 talented ladies carry that film. They elevate the film. They are the loveliest people as well to boot. Speaking on behalf of the Paper Street Pictures team, you were such a joy to work with on this film, and I'll even say it was a blast to be on the kind of festival premiere circuit roller coaster with you both in the lead up to this feature finally being out in the world, which again, long time coming. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk Shelby Oaks and more with me. Continued success to you both, which is so well deserved, and we hope to be working with you guys both again sooner than later.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you both. Take care.
Bye.
All right. My thanks again to Camille and Sarah for the discussion on Shelby Oaks, on their own careers, on their personal encounters with the paranormal, and much more. We are so grateful to them, to their own teams, to Neon for making the time for us. Hopefully we skirted any major spoilers if you listen to this before seeing the picture in theaters. And if you did, hopefully this gave you an additional nudge to maybe check it out. It was quite a journey, as we've talked about, a labor of love for so many involved, and one we're so glad to have been a part of, I say on behalf of the Paper Street team. Thank you again for the support by all on this wild ride. And, let us know what you think of Shelby Oaks once you see it. Again, in cinemas across the U.S. right now. For Camille, for Sarah, I am Shawn saying, sorry if I sucked. I will try to do better next time. Until that day, gang, get back to work.